Welcome back, everyone. We're here now with another meta breakdown video. So, we just recently, well, I should say recently as it was yesterday on April 20th, had the Webway in-person regionals up in Massachusetts. This was a 23-person event, and which meant only 4 people were able to go ahead to get the prizing. So, we're going to get the invitational to nationals for next year. So, we are going to go to break down this video pretty quickly here. I don't have the full deck list, but I do have the top 4. So, as you already see on the screen here, we do have Trent, who won the Webway Regionals. Congrats, they went completely undefeated. I think they ended up being, 5-0. Yeah, completely 5-0 on their usual Water Allies list. So, this is a list that Trent has commented a couple of times, has been running for a couple of regionals, and has pretty much won, I think, 2 of them now with this list. It's the Water 3 Xander Allies, Rising Razi Chosen. The little bit of the innovative tech that we talked before is running Morgan Soul Guide in the main deck, expecting to see a lot of Lux and matchups. So having that in there is a good overall card for that situation. But as Trent has stated to me before personally and on their videos, be prepared to sideboard out Morgan. Unless you're facing like maybe Erupting or Luxum, Morgan's a pretty dead card in your hand. You're sideboarding out pretty much game 2. You're throwing in either a Lunette, a Freezing Hail, or Gwaine. If you're bringing this list to an overall event, he's recommended cutting the Morgans or store all the Morgans in sideboard, put in the Freezing Hail, put in the Lunette to go up to 3 and 4 of each, and then maybe one extra card of fault, maybe another trained Sharpshooter. But there's not really too much other to change in this case. As I said, Morgan's really good into those matchups where you have to deal with Luxum or cards who kind to recover a lot. And then you have the Gwaines in the side with go ahead and get those cards out of your opponent's memory, say Light Reaver's Assault, or a couple other cards that might be a little bit sort of a hindrance for whatever matchup you're playing against. One's the 4 of Dungeon Guide, 4 of Lurking Assailants, 4 Thieving Cuts, 2 Train Shepherds. It's pretty much the normal list running down the path. He did say, though, if you are cutting the 3 Morgans from the main, add in either a third, more likely a third Sea Sprite Diver. Card's really good. I've been a fan of this card since it was announced. People will go ahead and tell me I was wrong, but no, this card is good. It eats something out of your opponent's memory. It's a flat 2/3, especially if opponents putting a lot of cards in their grave. So you go ahead and gets a 3-drop 2/3 into that good stat line that you're used to seeing. So that's pretty much going to be a quick breakdown of this list. That's pretty much the normal Water Allies list. You're pretty much going to outvalue your opponent with allies. Go ahead and get your level up damage with Septum Luminars. Well, if you're able to combo it in with a Poison Dagger, put a whole bunch of damage. Main issue this deck has been having lately, at least I tried running today, and it could just be me. At the Yeti Online Regional, I faced 2 Foglists back to back. I would got Vanish's Light, Resolute Stand almost every single turn. I would have allies, and then I would just get board wiped. I was so vulnerable to just board ups the whole and fogging. Like I tried to be up Frostbinds, they just always had extra cards in hand to pay it out, and it was just a brutal, brutal time. But with that being said, again, congrats to Trent, probably one of the best Water Allies players I know. But we're going to go ahead and go on to deck number 2. And with that, it's going to be MF Doomblade. MF Doomblade did go ahead, and it looks like we have Erupting. So Erupting is a list that we've been seeing sort of falling off a little bit lately. There is a lot of people expecting that everyone could play this deck optimally, but it looks like Doomblade did take Matt G's list and ran it to perfection. Got second place with it. We have the normal Spirit of Fire, Lorraine, Rye, level 2 Lorraine, as well as the Arisana level 3 in there to go ahead and use the Dusklight Communion. They're going to get rid of Saber Fracturized Lantern. So the Discordia Harp. Dustlight Communions are in here. Just the fact if there is a Fractured Lantern, you can go ahead and then Dustlight Communion the Fractured Lantern to get off the board, and then Nullify Lantern is no longer around. There's a cool interaction with this. A couple other ways to deal with, say, Dustlight Communion on the stack, but we won't go over that too much because I don't think it came into play as a whole. If people want a video over it, I can make one. But this is pretty standard. You have your Ember Songs, you have your Erupting, you have Fire Momentum. So if you're Lorraine, you go ahead and get Fire Momentum swings in for a lot of damage. You have your Fireballs, your Flame Suits as well. They can board wipe as well as push a decent amount. ACs, Increasing Ages, Innovate Furies, Burn Ashes, and Lantern, Tempered Steel, and Interference board wipes plus healing off of it. As a whole, Shield makes the go and take a little bit of taunt damage and floating memory that you can use to level up without having to use something like your Tempered Steel. The sideboard, you have the Azure Protective Fire Trinket. Dealing with the mirror matchup, you have one Water Zones. Bob, go ahead and come on in. 2 is a Dustlight Communion. If you are facing the water matchup, you bring these in so you have more chance to hit. This is Dustlight Communion for the Fracturized Lantern turns. Innovate Fury for the allies matchup. Spurn the Ash again if you're dealing with lanterns. And 2 Vulcan Acolyte that can also help you deal with lanterns depending on the matchup, because it gives you another way to answer it if your first Spurn doesn't hit for some reason, or you're facing lantern and the lantern gets, say, Zephyred. It gives you an extra option to hit the Nullify Lantern. One tweak I've been hearing people complain about this list. I don't know how true it is. Some people really want to run in the second Astra card because of the fact if you do get, say, Frostbind or something happens to your first Dustlight Communion with an interaction, or if you Dustlight Communion, then the card on the stack, your Dustlight Communion gets Excalibured. the Deathlight Communion does not resolve and the Lantern does stay in play. Because the way Deathlight Communion works, you do have to banish that Astral card out. So you have to be very, very careful of when you use it if you're facing something like Luxem Xander that does sideboard into Serene Spirit of Water in the sideboard. But congrats to MF Doomblade for taking second place. And let's go ahead and go on to deck number 3. Going to deck number 3, we have Trevor. Trevor's been on this list for a while, at least in my memory. I've passed 2 events, the Store Champ with him, and a couple others. He's been running Fire Diana. So Fire Diana is running Limelight's list from the Nationals. It's a list that pretty much utilizes fast leveling into Diana, getting extreme value out of, say, your Carters, your Mindbreak Blows to get stuff out of memory, with on top of being Shadow's Twin. And the list does run a couple extra cards where you see in here, you have a Blast Up Pump for a secondary gun. You have your Play to go, Flash Grenade to go ahead and draw a card. This one is running Seeker's Rifle in the main. Some run it side, some run it main. Really good call to run it main, especially all lists are running Vanish's Light lately. So it does let you go ahead and get this on the board to deal with the stealth turns. So one of the great techs added in is Deploy the Gun Shield. A lot of people try to interact with Diana by going, all right, your bullet is loaded. Shadowstream Trigger is on the stack. With Shadowstream Trigger on the stack of the +2, I'm going to Excalibur or Fracturize your gun. And pretty much what Deploy Gun Shield does is go, no, I'm not going to give my gun Spell Shroud. And it's also floating memory on top of it. The Deploy Gun Shield has been really, very clutch. You have to be really smart when you want to level up into Diana, and while leaving the Deploy the Gun Shield up and online, so you can go ahead and pretty much play around any Excalibur or Fracturize shenanigans that could happen, trying to get rid of your Shadow Swin as a whole. You have the basic package of Dungeon Guide, you have some library witches that help you deal with a little bit of board presence. You have Cremation Rituals going to draw cards. You have Force Load to go ahead and load extra bullet into your guns. Incendiary Shell to also help you deal extra damage. Backstep to gain distant at fast speed, as well as draw a card if you need to, as well as reposition it does the same thing. We have Seeking Shot for another way to go ahead and put curse counters on your opponent if you have no more guns. Stalwart Shieldmates, and then you have Umbral Tithe to pretty much close the game out once you get enough cards, sort of curse cards into your opponent's champion lineage, and then you can Umbral Tithe for almost free. If you're facing Luxem and they want to combo out, you can Umbral Tithe in response to then make them draw cards and deal a whole bunch of damage. So this is a list that's going to a lot. It's a really good list. The only downside of this list is Carter. Not saying Carter's not a bad card. I'm saying Carter is expensive. If you don't own Carters, it's going to be very, very hard to go ahead and get Carters at a decent price. As I'm recording this right now, Carters are about $65. So it's going to be very hard to get Carters. If you have a playset, great. Try trading for them, but don't try and go too much because of the fact we are running the issue where it's very, very hard to get Carters as a whole. But with that being said, congrats to Trevor. Like I said, this is a quick and dirty breakdown of something I've discussed a decent amount on the channel. If you want, you can go back into one of my other videos, as well as discuss it into my what you should play at a regional or ALC championship video as well. On to list number 4. We have a Merlin. So this is a little bit of a different Merlin. I've actually played them they beat me into the final round. But what happened is that this Merlin is running the Bulwark Sword, Doomblade, Safeguarding Fire Tongue, which has been really interesting. And it has a little bit of a different package. So you're going back to sort of the old school Merlin. You're running Savage Slash in there for going to get floating memory. We have the Dungeon Guides, of course, Fast Gears, Library Witches, Stalwart Shieldmates that sort of get you the floating memory as well as quick draw cards. Create Shot, Cremation Ritual, the 2 devastating blows that we talked about. That Merlin's been running a lot to go and push a lot of damage onto your opponent. Still running the Flame Sweep package for dealing with the allies list. You have Flame Rune Swordsman in there to ditch and then get the floating memory because you're Warrior and Mage as you go into later turns. Virgin Flames deal with allies. Sparkle Lights in there to deal prevent damage as well as helps you sort of get some early damage to pay some cards down into memory if you need to. Then a really spicy tech in this list has been Spontaneous Combustion. They told me they really like running Spontaneous Combustion because of the fact that it deals with an attacker on the spot. You don't have to wait an extra turn and take the damage and then focus flame it. It lets you go ahead and deal 4 to an ally attacking your champion. So if there's a guild or something coming on in, you go ahead and Spontaneous Combustion and then get it off the board nice and early. You run 2 Temper Seal, quick little fire float, 1 Crux Sight, 4 Ghost of Pendragon, self-explanatory, as well as 3 Incarnate Majesty. The sideboard, you have the Nullifying Lantern for more than likely the erupting matchups. You have a Terraforming dealing with the ally decks, 3 Morgan Soul Guides for the Luxem Xander lists, 1 Resolute Stand that sort of also deal with, say, Xander or a couple other lists that gives sort of Resolute Stand, say, a Thieving Cup, and then 2 Disintegrates for the mirror matchup. Congratulations. As I said, this is my opponent I faced near the end of the event. There was pretty much between me and them for getting 4th place, so congratulations for getting 4th. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I have for this video. This one's a very quick and dirty breakdown. Like I said, I don't have a full breakdown on the list, so I'm just going over the top 4 of the decks that were run. And keep an eye out. We do have a couple of events that are finishing. As I said, as I'm recording this, Yeti Online Regional is finishing up. And I think we had another event from this weekend as well that I will have to cover. So keep an eye on that in some future videos. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button down below. And I hope to see you guys in future videos. Peace.